You don't have to have an answer for this. I've asked tons of athletes. I don't know the
Okay.
answer for it yet. I'm going into a deep study on this flow state, which I think is just so interesting. And, the study of flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in the 80s, and Stephen Kotler took it to another level. Is there anything outside of just triggers and cues that you felt like, hey, this is how I get into flow state, either when you're an athlete or, anytime in what you do? Is there any different or more in-depth insight that you can give on flow state? And is it really different than just this kind of like focus stamina that we're talking about?
I think it is different because I don't think it's so conscious. I think it's much more subconscious,
Yeah.
hence the word flow. So for me
Good.
personally, I had to build a character to play volleyball because by nature, I'm not really interested in beating you. I'm not. I'm in my own
Interesting.
race. And so I used to go through steps
Huh.
to prepare. And I'm an only child, so I didn't grow up roughhousing. Like I know a lot of female athletes, especially if they have brothers, they could just click into the gear real quick. I had to kind of, work into this person that was going to want to win. And so just slowly by going off by myself and, I'd put my hair up and do everything in the same exact manner. And then it would sort of lock me into at least the position that when I was playing, if the opportunities arose subconsciously where it was just happening, um, I could provide it. But I will be completely transparent. I'm not. I don't really drink alcohol, and I would call myself a pretty straight person. But a couple of years ago, I started microdosing adaptogens, mushrooms, and there were times where I noticed that there could be sort of 40 radical thing, like just so much going on, and somehow I could just pick it off one by one. So I will share that as somebody who's in my 50s and again, this is coming from I've never even taken a psychedelic journey. I'm talking about
Right.
microdosing.
Microdosing,
I
sure.
could
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
go take a kid to school. Like
Yeah.
it's not a thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there was something about it where it just made it easier. I will share this really quickly, and I've talked about this before. I have a snapshot of what my day and week looks like. I write everything down. I know the flow of it. I look at it horizontally. Then in the day, I flip it. So it's only one thing coming at me at a time because I can't deal with all of it at once. Because if it's 8 in the morning, I can't deal with the thing at 3 p.m. But yet the awareness of it makes you overwhelmed. So I feel like I find flow when I go, oh, I have a sense of what's happening. There's always surprises. And now I'm going to take it and flip it. So the end of the day becomes the tail. The first thing that's happening becomes the head. And you're only shooting at one thing at a time to the best of your ability. That also helps me feel more in flow throughout my days.
Oh my gosh, Gabby, that was a phenomenal answer. Yeah, I love that tool. And I need to look more into this because I know, obviously microdosing for, VCs in the Bay Area got really big. And it's just that is the reason, tapping into flow. I wonder what that is.
I'm not trying to hack, and I'm sure there's something to do with your cognitive function. I just started feeling like I was getting cement head, and I wasn't nimble, and I wasn't feeling, um, as just my brain as pliable as I could. I will share one last thing I heard about flow because I think there's that difference in athletic flow and in work
Good
flow.
point.
It is different. So
Good
athletic
point.
flow, I feel like you train and you do everything, and then they show up, right? The windows.
Yeah. Hmm.
So this is another way where I almost try to force environments where I feel more in flow at work and things like that. But Stephen Collar interviewed Laird years ago, and obviously Laird has a very different relationship with flow because when you do something dangerous, I think it just happens. Okay. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that ever present thing in that moment. That's all I'm doing. And Laird said to Stephen Kotler, yeah, because Stephen was doing the research on flow, and he goes, "Well, something about flow," and Laird goes, "Well, it is, and you are, and that's that." And what Stephen later shared is he thought Laird was out of his mind, but what he said is when he studied flow, is that everything is changing in life, everything except flow state. It's always the same.
Wow. Jeez. That's so profound.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And he goes,
It
Laird
does.
knew what he was talking about, but I didn't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
It is, and you are, and that's that.